morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way for the 1st of November 2024. We're going to recap on those severe thunderstorms that tore through the southeast of Queensland and into the northeast of New South Wales late last night. We'll talk about what severe thunderstorms are on the way for tonight. We do have some nasty thunderstorms now on the forecast for parts of Queensland and into New South Wales. We'll also talk about the tropical weather scene and a heatwave expected to continue to extend across Western Australia today and into the Northern Territory and parts of South Australia before heading further east later on this week. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I thank you for the support in advance. So this is a look at the radar imagery throughout the course of yesterday, and I would just like to talk about this in greater detail. Is that yesterday afternoon some pretty nasty thunderstorms did fire up, and we had two areas of these particularly nasty thunderstorms, one of which was on the northern parts of the Sunshine Coast between Caloundra up towards Hervey Bay, and those thunderstorms were quite powerful there in a squall line with some embedded large hailstones, damaging winds and heavy rainfall, with peak rainfall accumulations outside of Noosa up towards 80mm overnight, which was bang on what we forecasted, on the upper end of what we forecasted yesterday, which was a fantastic thing to see, just with the forecast materialising how it was expected to do, and also considering the fact that this is still much needed rainfall for this part of Queensland. They're certainly starting to get some proper rainfall now, and it is starting to get quite wet there, but still this rainfall very much is welcome for this time of the year. And the other area was into the northeast of New South Wales and into the immediate southeastern corner of Queensland. I believe it was through Coomera, at least in the southern suburbs of Brisbane. A powerful line of thunderstorms blew through there, which you can see here on this radar imagery, and I'll zoom right in as well, blowing through the Gold Coast at around 6 or 7 p.m. overnight. Some pretty significant thunderstorms were reported in that area. A lot of lightning as well, as I've read from the comment section, and some good thunderstorms as well extending further down into the northeast of New South Wales. You can see outside of Grafton at around 6 or 7 p.m. local time, some good thunderstorms being reported down there. So all in all, it was a stormy night, or a stormy afternoon turning into a stormy night, with some much needed rainfall and some great displays of lightning and thunderstorm activity, which again, just great to see, and typical for this time of the year. For the most part, these thunderstorms weren't damaging. I believe there were a couple of calls to the SES for help, and these thunderstorms certainly did cause some damage in a few locations, but for the most part, they were non-damaging severe thunderstorms, which are probably the type of thunderstorms that a lot of people do want to see in this area. I know a lot of people in southeast of Queensland get excited for a good thunderstorm, especially this time of the year. So non-damaging severe thunderstorms is about the best that they can get down there. In this case, these thunderstorms certainly pushing it in terms of how strong we would like to see, and thankfully they will likely be a lot tamer throughout the course of tonight. But starting out your November, let's take a look at what we are expecting in terms of severe thunderstorms here. Not an awful lot. In fact, the forecast has been back down from yesterday. Still though, with these temperatures and convective available potential energy values, they do have me slightly concerned for the southeast of Queensland tonight into early tomorrow morning. Just take a look at this. You can see showers and thunderstorms at around 2 or 3 p.m. local time across the southeast of Queensland, especially into the Brisbane metro area and along the Gold Coast and into the southern suburbs of Brisbane. A couple of showers and storms also extending up the Sunshine Coast, but they will be few and far between, and a few showers and storms once again few and far between up towards Gladstone and Rockhampton. Showers and storms also possible outside of Hughenden, Maxwellton, and then up towards Cloncurry and Mount Isa into the far north of Queensland. But again, those storms there are more sort of pulse convective related in terms of the monsoonal trough. These thunderstorms here are more sort of related to a surface trough and a low pressure system into the southeast of Queensland. But in terms of severe thunderstorm chances, the highest chances throughout the course of tonight are going to be along the New South Wales and Queensland border outside of Stanthorpe, Warwick, up towards Boonah and Toowoomba. The thunderstorms there could get strong at times. You can see the Axis G3 expecting for a line of potentially severe thunderstorms to head into the Brisbane metro area along the Brisbane River and up into the northern suburbs of Brisbane up towards Redcliffe and Moreton Bay. We're expecting a line of severe thunderstorms by around 5 or 6 p.m. Later on tonight, but that just hasn't materialised on the Eastern Blair forecast here. You can see there is a stark contrast between the forecast models, which means there's a lot of uncertainty with the forecast here. Now, my take on it, and this is heavily just based off precedents and just the fact that it is now November, which is peak storm season for the southeast of Queensland, I would be more inclined to follow the Axis G3 forecast here. I don't want to sound fear-mongering or anything, but precedents just tells me that severe thunderstorms are going to occur, and there's no two ways about it, across the southeast of Queensland tonight. And I expect a couple of severe cells, especially into the north of Brisbane and up in towards the Sunshine Coast, and a couple of severe cells also possible into the southern suburbs of Brisbane as well, into the the early hours of this evening, most likely at around 2 to 5 p.m. seems to be kind of crunch time for these thunderstorms, or just a little bit later than that, up towards 6 or 7 p.m. seems to be crunch time for these thunderstorms. And dare I say, looks like a second wave of thunderstorms also pipes up outside of Boonah and Killarney later on in the evening, up towards sort of 9 or 10 p.m. local time. Again, the forecast for that seems a little bit murky at this time, and considering there's no congruency between the forecast models, I'd take that forecast here with thunderstorms down along the Queensland and New South Wales border later on in the night with a very heavy pinch of salt. But at this time, I'd say a severe thunderstorm outbreak later on this afternoon and into the early hours of this evening around the Brisbane metro area, up into the southern areas of the Sunshine Coast and extending down towards Coomera and the Gold Coast, looks to be very likely, if not certain, at this time. It looks to be a very interesting setup indeed. The risks do look to be at this time damaging winds, heavy rainfall, large hailstones, could even get towards giant hailstones, especially with how slow moving these thunderstorms are going to be. They're going to be very severe at times, just in terms of how much precipitation is expected to fall. Now, much like yesterday with the heavy rainfall from the slow moving thunderstorms, rainfall accumulations are going to be huge across the southeast of Queensland, across some locations, and particularly for areas outside of Maroochydore and up in the northern suburbs of Brisbane, Redcliffe and the Moreton Bay sort of area, which did get saturated last night with, like I said earlier on the video, between 70 and 80 millimetres of rainfall. It does look like rainfall accumulations there could top sort of 50 or 60 millimetres under the right thunder cell again, which puts 2-day rainfall accumulations up towards 150 millimetres, and that will cause some minor riverine flooding in locations, certainly some flash flooding. These areas in Queensland are built for some very heavy rainfall, but again, 150 millimetres across a 28-hour period. That is some huge rainfall coming ashore here, so we will take this forecast very seriously. And if you do live in this sort of area that I'm circling now in the northern suburbs of Brisbane, if you got saturated by the rainfall yesterday, take this forecast very seriously. And if you do live in a flood prone area, I'd recommend moving furniture and valuables up into an area that's less likely to be flooded. There's no evacuation or whatever in place for this weather event. I doubt there ever will be unless these thunderstorms become historic, but again, I would just keep it in the back of your mind that flash flooding is possible at this time. Backyards, pools are likely to fill with water under these thunderstorms here. Likely to be non-damaging, but again, it's just good to keep in the back of your head that we are talking about a lot of rainfall coming ashore, coming down on this part of Queensland, on top of the rainfall that has already fallen in the past 24 hours. That is a very overcomplicated take on a flash flooding forecast. So if I have left you confused or your head spinning, then please do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll try and cut it out in a more simpler term for you. Now, what's driving these thunderstorms? Well, temperatures are going to be warm across the southeast of Queensland. Not hot, but definitely warm throughout the course of tonight. Temperatures up towards 30 degrees expected across the southeast. Brisbane expecting a warm, humid top of 29. The Gold Coast a humid top of 26. Further inland, those temperatures will be up into the mid-30s, 34 for some locations. Up towards Taroom, we're expecting temperatures up towards 34. And a lot of convective available potential energy as well, especially up in the Sunshine Coast around Maroochydore and Noosa. There are some very high values tonight, which means thunderstorms are going to have a birthday party. We're going to see severe thunderstorms around the Maroochydore area. I can already feel it tonight just with this low pressure system attached to this and a lot of wind shear in the environment. I reckon these thunderstorms are going to go absolutely AWOL up in the Maroochydore or northern Sunshine Coast area up towards Rainbow Beach. That's if they do materialise themselves up there. Again, the chances are highest around the Brisbane area and down towards the northern suburbs of Brisbane. But if thunderstorms get themselves going up around the Gympie or Noosa sort of area, they are going to have a field day. So again, that's certainly an area that is worth watching at this time. And like I said, humidity values are going to be very high throughout the course of today, just with the onshore breeze that's coming ashore. Brisbane expecting humidity values sitting at around that 60 to 70% throughout this afternoon, so it is going to be a stinker. Temperatures expected to be much warmer than the actual temperature as well in terms of the feels like. And once these thunderstorms as well get themselves going, those humidity values are going to soar up into the high 80s or early 90s for some of these locations. And again, mid-level humidity values, which is how much humidity is in the upper atmosphere for these thunderstorms to make the most of, looking very healthy as well for these thunderstorms, and great mid-level wind shear as well, which is great to see for these thunderstorms. They are going to have an absolute field day, that is for sure. So yeah, we will keep a very close eye on these thunderstorms. Certainly a very interesting forecast, that's for sure. And some good severe thunderstorms certainly look possible today and into tonight. Now, also in terms of thunderstorm activity, we can't be neglecting into the northeast of New South Wales as well, like we did yesterday, and again missed the Yamba forecast. So I do apologise for people in the northeast of New South Wales. That was a massive oversight by myself. Thunderstorms expected to pipe up around the Grafton and Lismore area tonight. They will be few and far between and most likely non-severe. We're also expecting a couple of showers and thunderstorms around the Lismore area tomorrow night, but again, most likely non-severe, and they will once again be fewer and further between. Thunderstorms expected to pipe up across the central parts of Queensland out towards Rolleston, Emerald, Dingo and Claremont throughout tomorrow, Saturday the 2nd of November, and extending down towards Eddersvoid and Chinchilla as well in the late afternoon, developing into a squall line into the early evening hours and racing towards the coastline, but unfortunately not delivering any rainfall to the parched areas across central Queensland's coast up towards Rockhampton, Ogmore, Gladstone and Agnes Water. They do desperately need the rainfall out there, but if the severe thunderstorms do develop, they're unlikely to deliver rainfall into the central Queensland coastline area, which is unfortunate because, like I've said, they do desperately need that rainfall. And thunderstorms tomorrow evening extending deep into Queensland up towards Hughenden, Forsyth, Georgetown and those sort of areas as well, and further north up into the Cape York Peninsula. A couple of thunderstorms also possible out there tomorrow afternoon and evening. Stock standard weather for this time of the year, but again, a few thunderstorms possible. We will keep a close eye on things and see if things do head severe in tomorrow morning's forecast update. And just playing the forecast through, we do have a thunderstorm outbreak expected in to the northeast of New South Wales on Monday next week. Same deal for Tuesday, extending up in towards Queensland. This one does look quite nasty, and the forecast models have been backing severe thunderstorms on Tuesday, the 5th of November, for quite a few days now. So this is something I'm eager to take a look at on Sunday in that forecast update, and I'll keep you posted on it in tomorrow's forecast update as well. And you can see thunderstorms making themselves present across parts of Queensland and New South Wales right through next week, as well as temperatures soar across New South Wales and into Queensland. Again, we'll take a look at these storms in greater detail in a future forecast update. This is too much thunderstorms for Queensland and New South Wales for me to cover in one video, otherwise the video would be an hour long. But again, warm temperatures and thunderstorms expected throughout the course of next week and especially Tuesday, so keep it in the back of your head at this time. And if you want detailed forecast updates on these storms, there's no better way to get them than by subscribing to this channel. Now, just before I take a look at the tropical weather, I would like to talk about the heat wave extending across Western Australia and extending further east as this week goes on. So take a look at temperature maximums throughout the course of today. You can see temperatures already starting to soar across parts of Western Australia into the mid-30s already, and it's only 7:30 in the morning as I'm making this video. You can see temperatures under this low pressure area expected to extend into the mid-40s for the first time this summer for a few locations across the Pilbara. Outside of Karratha, Panawonsi are expecting a top of 45 degrees Celsius. Warm temperatures under this low pressure system extending into the central wheat belt, with temperatures up into the early 40s, even the mid 40s for some locations into the northern wheat belt and into the goldfields. We're expecting a very warm day there, and those temperatures then moving further east as this low pressure system gets swept away by a cold front moving through the southwest. Tomorrow as well, temperatures expected to soar across the south and the north interior parts of Western Australia, and then into South Australia as well. We're expecting temperatures into the early to mid 40s for the first time this summer across South Australia, impacting areas such as Maralinga, Minturpee, Mari and Coober Pedy. Some warm temperatures expected there. Warm temperatures into the Northern Territory as well, up to 40 degrees as well. Stock standard for this time of the year, but still pretty warm for them. Temperatures are going to continue to warm up as well on Sunday, with this low pressure system making itself more established over Oodnadatta in South Australia. You can see temperatures up towards 46 degrees for Oodnadatta on Sunday the 3rd of November, and then these warm temperatures finally extend into Queensland on Monday the 4th of November, with warm days and warm nights expected into Queensland and New South Wales. Daytime maximum up towards 44 degrees, overnight minima down to about 25 to 30 degrees, and temperatures warming very rapidly once that sun makes itself present across parts of Queensland and New South Wales. But just take a look at how warm Australia is going to be over the next couple of days into early next week. Dare I say about 30 or 40% of the continent expecting a maximum of around 40 degrees Celsius or warmer on Tuesday, and about 10% of the continent expecting temperatures warmer than 44 degrees Celsius on Tuesday. Very warm for this time of the year. I wouldn't class this as unprecedented heat. It's certainly expected for this time of the year, but 44 certainly is going to be quite warm, especially when we were talking about temperatures into the early 30s only about 3 weeks ago for this part of Queensland and New South Wales. And driving those thunderstorms into early to mid next week is going to be those warm temperatures into New South Wales and Queensland. More on that in a future forecast update. And now, just to finish off this forecast update, I'd like to head up into the tropics to give a tropical weather forecast as well. We've had some healthy thunderstorms and some healthy rainfall accumulations over the Northern Territory over the past couple of days. Unfortunately though, for those of you that are loving the thunderstorms and the wet season activity, the rainfall is expected to pipe down over the coming couple of days, with minimal rainfall accumulations expected over the next 5 days and only about 25 to 40 millimeters expected over Darwin in the next 10 days. Unfortunately, a little bit of a dry spell after a little bit of a tease into the wet season. The Kimberley region of Western Australia, however, not struggling for rainfall at this time. They're expecting a further 80 millimeters over the next 10 days. The rainfall very quickly piling on up there, and rainfall accumulations are racing towards 2,000 millimeters up there for this calendar year, which is great to see. Very wet indeed, certainly breaking their drier trends over the last couple of years. So again, this rainfall very much welcome. It was always going to be an early rainfall onset up there. Also over the Northern Territory, an early rainfall onset, and we have more than received the official start to the rainfall onset up there. And dare I say, it's only a couple of weeks now until we start to see the real rainfall begin to pipe up across parts of Western Australia, the Northern Territory and Queensland. And it's officially cyclone season as well, so I feel like we should also take a look at if we're seeing any tropical spin-ups over the next 10 days. Unfortunately, I'm ahead of you guys. I already have looked, and I've been looking quite closely over the last couple of days, and unfortunately there's really nothing on the radar in terms of tropical cyclone spin-ups over the next 10 days. It is only early November at this time, but we are expecting an early start to the cyclone season. You can see a couple of tighter low-pressure system areas expected to materialize across parts of the Solomon Sea north of Vanuatu towards the end of next week, Sunday the 10th of November, and a tight low pressure area expected across parts of the southwest Indian Ocean basin south of the Maldives, but that is well out of the Australian area of responsibility. But I will give a brief cyclone update in every single forecast update heading forward for the next 6 months. Right now, not expecting any cyclone activity for at least the next 2 weeks, but I would not be surprised. Some of the long-range forecast models suggesting cyclone activity before December. I'd not be surprised if later on into November we saw some rumbles of activity. So get excited for those of you willing to track some tropical cyclones. Anyways, that is all that I have time for in today's forecast update. Thank you so much for watching the video to this point. The support lately has been much appreciated. If you haven't already, then please do consider subscribing. The support lately has been much appreciated, and this channel just keeps on growing, and I'm very thankful for all of the growth that we have seen. If you've got any feedback, or if you've got a question that you'd like to leave in the comment section, then don't hesitate to do so, and I'll get back to as many people as I can throughout the course of today. I've been pretty shoddy with the comments over the last couple of weeks, in fact over the last couple of months really, and that's something I'm going to endeavour to be better at throughout the course of cyclone season. So let's see how well I do. That is all from me throughout the course of today. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. The names are on screen right now, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.